In a distant corner of the galaxy, where stars burned like embers in an endless void, there existed a species known as the Vorthak. They were conquerors, rulers of countless worlds, feared across the cosmos for their unmatched strength and unrelenting ambition. Their empire stretched across star systems, swallowing planets whole, bending civilizations to their will with cold efficiency. No world had ever resisted them, not for long. The Vorthak were not just warriors. They were engineers of domination. Their towering warships could block out suns, their weapons reduced mountains to dust, and their technology made even the most hostile environments bow before them. From frozen wastelands to scorching deserts, from oceans of acid to skies choked with toxic clouds, no challenge was too great for the Vorthak dominion. Each new conquest added another trophy to their collection, another chapter in their story of invincibility. At the heart of this empire stood Warlord Calith, a figure both revered and feared by his people. His name was whispered in awe among the ranks of soldiers and scientists alike. With piercing eyes that glowed faintly blue and skin hardened by years of exposure to alien atmospheres, he seemed more machine than man. Yet it wasn't his physical presence that inspired loyalty. It was his mind. Calith's strategies were flawless, his decisions calculated down to the smallest detail. Under his command, failure did not exist. One day, while scanning the edges of their territory, the Vorthak detected something unusual, a small blue-green planet orbiting a yellow star. It was insignificant compared to the vastness of space, but its readings intrigued them. Primitive structures dotted its surface, signs of intelligent life flickered weakly on their sensors. The council convened aboard their flagship, debating whether this tiny rock deserved their attention. After all, what threat could such a primitive species pose? "It is Earth," one advisor said dismissively, pointing at the holographic map floating above the table. "A chaotic biosphere, overrun with unpredictable variables. Hardly worth our time." Calith leaned forward, studying the image intently. Something about it unsettled him. Unlike other planets they had conquered, Earth didn't follow the usual patterns. Its ecosystems were wildly diverse, almost defiantly so. Its inhabitants, fragile bipeds called humans, seemed disorganized, yet capable of surprising bursts of creativity. There was chaos here, yes, but also resilience. Instinct told him this would not be an easy victory. "Then we shall make it quick," Calith declared, his voice cutting through the murmurs of doubt. "Prepare the fleet. We leave at once." As the massive armada mobilized, excitement rippled through the Vorthak ranks. For centuries, they had faced challenges that tested their limits, but never had they encountered anything truly unexpected. To them, Earth was just another target, another opportunity to prove their superiority. Little did they know, this seemingly insignificant planet held secrets far beyond their comprehension. Earth waited silently in the darkness of space, unaware of the storm heading its way. Its forests rustled gently in the breeze, its oceans rolled peacefully under the moonlight, and its creatures went about their lives as they always had. But deep within its core, something stirred. An ancient force, dormant for millennia, sensing the approach of invaders. The Vorthak thought they understood hostility. They thought they knew terror, but Earth was about to teach them a lesson they would never forget. The sky above Earth turned black as the Vorthak fleet descended, blotting out the sun with their colossal warships. The largest of them, a jagged monstrosity known as the Ecliptor, hovered ominously over New York City, its shadow swallowing skyscrapers whole. Humanity stared upward in awe and terror, unsure whether to pray or run. For weeks, rumors of alien activity had spread like wildfire, but no one was truly prepared for this moment, when the invaders arrived not as curious explorers, but as conquerors. At first, it seemed like a nightmare come true. Beams of searing energy shot down from the ships, obliterating military bases and communication towers. Fighter jets scrambled into the air, only to be vaporized within seconds by invisible shields surrounding the Vorthak vessels. Tanks rolled onto streets, firing shells that harmlessly exploded against those same impenetrable barriers. The humans fought back with everything they had, but their weapons were useless. The Vorthek technology was centuries ahead of anything on Earth. Dr. Elena Vega stood frozen in her lab in Chicago, watching through a window as chaos erupted outside. She clutched her tablet tightly, her knuckles white. Her mind raced with questions. Who were these beings? What did they want? And why now? But before she could think further, screams echoed down the hallway. Moments later, metallic footsteps thundered closer, accompanied by the hum of strange machinery. The door burst open, and towering figures stepped inside. They were unlike anything Elena had ever seen. Their bodies shimmered with iridescent armor, segmented like insect exoskeletons, yet sleek and polished. Their elongated limbs moved with unnatural precision, each step deliberate and calculated. Their faces, if you could call them that, were smooth, featureless masks save for two glowing slits where eyes should have been. They radiated an aura of cold indifference, as if humanity's panic meant nothing to them. "Do not resist," one of them said in halting, mechanical English. Its voice grated like grinding metal. "You will be assimilated." Before Elena could react, another figure entered the room, a smaller drone-like creature floating silently behind the soldiers. It extended a thin appendage toward her, emitting a soft blue light. Pain shot through her skull as memories flooded out of her mind, siphoned away by the device. Images of her research, her family, her life flashed before her eyes, stolen in an instant. Then the light faded, and the drones moved on, leaving her trembling on the floor. Outside, the scene repeated itself across cities worldwide. Humans were rounded up en masse, herded into massive holding pens beneath the Vorthek ships. Families were torn apart, children crying for parents who disappeared into the crowd. Resistance was met with brutal efficiency. Anyone who fought back was disintegrated without hesitation. Yet, despite the overwhelming force, something unusual began to happen. In remote areas, far from urban centers, nature started fighting back. Packs of wolves attacked isolated patrols, ripping through Vorthek armor with teeth sharper than steel. Swarms of bees descended upon unsuspecting scouts, stinging relentlessly until the aliens retreated. Even plants seemed to rebel, trees collapsing onto their vehicles, vines creeping unnaturally fast to entangle their machines. Reports trickled in of bizarre phenomena, rivers changing course overnight, storms forming inexplicably around their ships, and animals behaving with eerie intelligence. Elena, hiding in the ruins of her lab after narrowly escaping capture, pieced together fragments of information using what little equipment remained. She discovered ancient texts buried in digital archives, myths about a guardian tied to Earth itself, a force awakened during times of great peril. Could this be real? Was Earth fighting back on its own? As night fell, Elena gazed at the burning horizon, tears streaming down her face. Her husband and daughter were gone, taken by the invaders. But amidst the grief, a spark ignited within her. If Earth itself was resisting, then maybe there was still hope. Maybe humanity wasn't alone in this fight. Clutching a tattered notebook filled with scribbled notes, she whispered a vow to herself. "I'll find a way. I'll make them pay." And so the resistance began, not with weapons or armies, but with determination and hope. Somewhere deep within Earth's veins, something stirred, waiting for the right moment to strike. The Vorthek had always prided themselves on their ability to adapt. They had conquered planets teeming with hostile environments, from oceans of molten lava to atmospheres thick with corrosive gases. But Earth was different. It wasn't just the chaos of its ecosystems or the unpredictability of its weather. It was something deeper, something they couldn't quite understand. And as days turned into weeks, cracks began to show in their seemingly invincible facade. At first, it started small. A scout unit sent to investigate a dense jungle in South America never returned. When reinforcements arrived, they found nothing but twisted wreckage and strange claw marks etched into the trees. Then came reports of illness spreading among the troops stationed near human settlements. At first, it seemed minor: coughs, fevers, rashes, but soon entire battalions were incapacitated, writhing in agony as alien microbes invaded their systems. No amount of advanced medicine could combat these microscopic attackers, which evolved faster than the Vorthak scientists could analyze them. Commander Vera, one of Calith's most trusted officers, stood aboard the Ecliptor, staring at holographic displays filled with data. Her sharp eyes narrowed as she studied the patterns. "This isn't random," she muttered to herself. "It's coordinated." "What do you mean?" asked Lieutenant Drax, her second in command. He was younger, less experienced, and visibly uneasy. The sight of his fellow soldiers collapsing in pain unnerved him. "Look at this." Vera pointed to a map showing outbreaks across Earth. "Every incident occurs in areas where our presence is strongest. These diseases aren't natural. They're targeting us specifically." Drax frowned. "But how? Humans don't have the technology to engineer pathogens like this." "No," Vera agreed, her voice low. "They don't." Which means... She trailed off, glancing out the viewport at the swirling blue planet below. Something about Earth felt alive, almost sentient. She shook her head, dismissing the thought as irrational. Sentient planets were the stuff of myths, not science. Meanwhile, on the ground, humanity struggled to survive under the Vorthak occupation. In the ruins of what was once London, Dr. Elena Vega moved cautiously through abandoned streets, her backpack filled with supplies scavenged from looted pharmacies. She had joined a group of survivors hiding in the city's underground tunnels, led by Marcus, a grizzled ex-soldier who carried guilt for failing to protect his unit during the initial invasion. One evening, as they gathered around a flickering lantern, Elena shared her findings. "It's not just us fighting back," she said, laying out sketches of strange animal behavior and notes on microbial mutations. "Earth itself is resisting. Every time the Vorthak try to take control, nature pushes back harder." Marcus crossed his arms skeptically. "You think Earth has some kind of guardian?" "I know how it sounds," Elena admitted, frustration creeping into her voice. "But I've seen things, plants moving when they shouldn't, storms forming out of nowhere. There's something bigger at play here." Her words sparked debate among the group. Some dismissed her theory as wishful thinking, while others nodded thoughtfully. Among them was Solomon, an elderly biologist whose knowledge of ecosystems proved invaluable. "There are old legends," he said quietly. "Stories of Gaia, a spirit tied to Earth, protecting it from harm. Maybe those stories hold truth." As they spoke, far away in the Amazon rainforest, something stirred. Deep within the dense foliage, glowing lights pulsed faintly, illuminating ancient carvings etched into stone. Animals gathered around the site, their eyes reflecting an otherworldly intelligence. A soft hum filled the air, resonating through the trees and soil alike. Back aboard the Ecliptor, alarms blared suddenly, interrupting Vera's analysis. The ship shuddered violently, as if struck by an unseen force. Outside, clouds swirled unnaturally, lightning crackling in erratic bursts. For the first time since the invasion began, fear crept into the hearts of the Vorthak. Warlord Calith stormed onto the bridge, his expression dark. "What is happening?" he demanded. Vera hesitated before answering. "We don't know yet, sir, but whatever it is, it's coming from Earth itself." Calith clenched his fists, his glowing eyes narrowing. If Earth truly had awakened, then the Vorthak would need more than brute force to conquer it. This battle was no longer just against humans. It was against something far older, far stronger. And for the first time in centuries, doubt flickered in the warlord's mind. Deep beneath the ruins of London, in a labyrinth of forgotten subway tunnels, humanity's last hope began to take shape. Dr. Elena Vega stood at the center of a dimly lit chamber, her face illuminated by the soft glow of a portable projector. Around her, a group of survivors listened intently as she laid out her plan, not just to survive, but to fight back. "We can't win this war alone," Elena began, her voice steady despite the weight of her words. "The Vorthak are too strong, their technology too advanced. But we're not fighting them directly. We're fighting with Earth." Marcus, the grizzled ex-soldier, leaned against a crumbling wall, arms crossed. His skepticism was clear, but he didn't interrupt. Priya, the tech-savvy teenager who had hacked into the Vorthak communication network weeks earlier, sat cross-legged on the floor, typing furiously on a salvaged laptop. Solomon, the elderly biologist, nodded slowly, his eyes gleaming with quiet determination. Elena continued, pointing to a map projected onto the wall. "Their forces are spread thin. They rely on centralized systems to coordinate everything, from troop movements to resource allocation. If we disrupt that network, we can cripple them." "But how?" Marcus asked bluntly. "We don't have weapons that can touch them. You said it yourself. They're light years ahead of us." "We don't need weapons," Elena replied firmly. "We use what they've underestimated, Earth itself. And we strike where it hurts most, their hive mind system." Priya looked up from her laptop. "I've been monitoring their signals. Their central hub is on one of their orbital stations. It controls all their operations on Earth. Take that out, and they lose coordination." Elena smiled faintly. "Exactly. That's our target." The room fell silent as the enormity of the task sank in. Attacking an orbital station was suicide, or so it seemed, but desperation bred creativity, and these survivors had nothing left to lose. Over the next few days, the group worked tirelessly to prepare. Priya scoured the internet for any remaining data on Vorthak technology, piecing together fragments of information stolen during her earlier hacks. She discovered vulnerabilities in their shield systems, weak points that could be exploited if timed perfectly. Meanwhile, Marcus trained volunteers in guerrilla tactics, teaching them how to evade patrols and strike quickly before retreating into the shadows. Solomon focused on understanding Earth's role in the resistance. He spent hours poring over ancient texts and consulting local legends about Gaia, the mythical guardian of the planet. Though many dismissed the idea as superstition, Solomon believed there was truth to it. "If Earth is fighting back," he reasoned, "then maybe we can amplify its efforts. Maybe we can channel its power." While the others prepared, Elena ventured deeper into the rainforest. Following clues from old manuscripts, she sought answers, proof that Gaia was real and that humanity could ally with it. What she found changed everything. In a hidden glade surrounded by towering trees, she encountered something extraordinary. The air shimmered with an ethereal glow, and plants seemed to pulse with life. A gentle breeze carried whispers that sounded almost like human voices. As Elena stepped closer, she felt a presence, a consciousness far greater than her own. Images flooded her mind. Visions of Earth's past, of civilizations rising and falling, of ecosystems thriving and collapsing. And then, a single word echoed in her thoughts: balance. When Elena returned to the group, her expression was resolute. "Earth isn't just resisting," she told them. "It's protecting itself, and us. But it needs help. We have to show Gaia that we're worth saving." With renewed purpose, the resistance finalized their plan. Using scavenged materials and stolen Vorthak tech, they built crude but effective devices designed to exploit the weak points in the alien shields. Each member had a role to play, each sacrifice bringing them closer to their goal. As they prepared for the mission, Marcus turned to Elena. "You really think this will work?" Elena met his gaze without hesitation. "I don't know, but I do know one thing. We're no longer just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for Earth. And if we succeed, we might just prove that even the smallest spark can ignite a revolution." The resistance moved under the cover of darkness, heading toward their first objective, disabling a key relay station near the outskirts of Paris. Above them, the Vorthak fleet loomed ominously in the night sky. Below, Earth stirred, its forests rustling, its rivers churning, its creatures watching and waiting. For the first time since the invasion began, humanity dared to hope. The Resistance's first strike was a success, or so it seemed. Under the cover of darkness, they infiltrated the outskirts of Paris, targeting a Vorthek relay station that served as a critical node in their hive mind network. Using devices cobbled together from scavenged parts and stolen alien tech, they managed to disable the station's shields momentarily. Explosions lit up the night sky as Marcus led a team to destroy the core, while Alina and Priya monitored the chaos remotely. But victory came at a cost. The Vorthak retaliated swiftly, deploying drones and ground troops to hunt down the attackers. Several members of the Resistance were captured or killed, their screams echoing through the ruins as Marcus barely escaped with his life. Back in their underground hideout, the survivors regrouped, battered but determined. Yet something strange had happened during the attack, something none of them could explain. Elena stared at the data streaming across her laptop screen, her brow furrowed in confusion. "Look at this," she said, turning to Priya and Solomon. During the explosion, there was a massive surge of energy, not from our weapons, but from the environment itself. It's like Earth amplified the blast. Priya adjusted her glasses, leaning closer to examine the readings. "That's impossible. Unless..." She trailed off, glancing nervously at Solomon. "Unless Gaia is real," Solomon finished for her, his voice low and reverent. "And it's responding to us." Alina felt a chill run down her spine. Her encounter in the rainforest, the glowing plants, the whispers, the visions, had convinced her that Earth was more than just a planet. But now, it seemed Gaia was actively aiding their fight. The thought filled her with both hope and unease. If Earth truly was alive, what price would it demand for its help? Determined to uncover more, Alina returned to the rainforest alone, following the pull of the mysterious force she had felt before. This time, she ventured deeper into the jungle, pushing past tangled vines and moss-covered stones until she reached a clearing she hadn't noticed before. At its center stood an ancient stone altar, covered in carvings of animals, humans, and celestial patterns. The air hummed with energy, and the ground beneath her feet vibrated faintly. As Alina approached, the carvings began to glow, casting soft light onto her face. A voice, not audible, but resonating directly in her mind, spoke to her. "You seek balance," it said, "but balance requires sacrifice." Alina knelt beside the altar, overwhelmed by the presence surrounding her. "I'll do whatever it takes," she whispered. "Just tell me how to stop them." Images flooded her mind once again, visions of humanity working in harmony with nature, of cities rebuilt in symbiosis with forests and rivers. But there were darker visions too. Storms raging uncontrollably, landscapes scarred by fire, and countless lives lost in the process. Gaia wasn't offering salvation, it was demanding partnership. To awaken fully, Earth needed humanity to prove itself worthy. When Alina emerged from the forest days later, her eyes carried a new intensity. She shared what she had learned with the group, though she kept the darker visions to herself. "Gaia is real," she told them, "and it's willing to help us. But we have to earn its trust. We need to show that we're not just fighting for ourselves, we're fighting for the planet." Solomon nodded gravely. "Then we must act carefully. Every step we take must align with Gaia's will." Their next move became clear. Target another relay station, this time using Earth's natural forces to amplify their attack. With Solomon's guidance, they chose a location near an active volcano in Indonesia, where magma flows could be harnessed to overload the Vorthek systems. As they prepared, strange phenomena accompanied their efforts. Rivers redirected themselves to block enemy patrols. Flocks of birds blinded drones with coordinated attacks, and even insects swarmed Vorthek equipment, rendering it useless. The resistance struck again, this time with devastating results. When the relay station exploded, the shockwave triggered a volcanic eruption that swallowed an entire Vorthek outpost. From orbit, Warlord Calith watched in mounting fury as reports poured in of similar incidents worldwide. Earth was no longer passive. It was retaliating with terrifying precision. "What is happening?" he roared, slamming his fist on the command console. "This planet should be ours." Commander Vera stood silently nearby, her expression troubled. Unlike Calith, she saw the truth. Earth was alive, and it was fighting back. For the first time, doubt crept into her loyalty to the warlord. If the Vorthek couldn't conquer this world, then perhaps survival meant finding another way. The Resistance's second victory sent shockwaves through the Vorthek command. Relay stations, once thought impregnable, were now vulnerable, not just to human ingenuity, but to Earth itself. Reports flooded into the eclipter of inexplicable phenomena. Rivers rising to drown outposts, storms forming unnaturally around their ships, and even entire forests uprooting themselves to crush Vorthak machinery. Warlord Calith paced the bridge, his glowing eyes blazing with fury. The planet that had seemed so primitive was proving to be a nightmare beyond comprehension. "We underestimated them," Commander Vera admitted quietly, standing beside him. Her voice carried a note of caution, though she dared not meet his gaze. "This isn't just rebellion. It's retaliation. Earth is fighting back." Calith whirled on her, his voice a low growl. "Fighting back? Against us? A planet cannot think, cannot act. It's chaos, unpredictable, disorganized." Vera hesitated, then spoke carefully. "What if it's not chaos, sir? What if there's something guiding it?" Calith froze, his expression darkening. For all his arrogance, he wasn't blind to the evidence. Entire battalions had been wiped out by forces they couldn't explain. Their technology, which had crushed civilizations across the galaxy, was faltering here. And yet, admitting defeat, or worse, retreat, was unthinkable. The Vorthak did not surrender. They adapted. "Then we adapt," Calith snapped, turning back to the holographic display of Earth. "Scorched earth tactics. If the planet resists, we burn it until nothing remains." Meanwhile, deep within the Indonesian jungle, Alina and her team regrouped after their successful attack. Exhaustion lined their faces, but there was a flicker of hope in their eyes for the first time since the invasion began. Gaia's power was undeniable, and it had tipped the scales in their favor. But Alina knew this was only the beginning. Each victory came at a cost, not just in lives lost, but in the toll it took on Earth itself. "We're pushing too hard," Solomon warned as they sat around a makeshift campfire. His hands trembled slightly as he held a cup of water. "Gaia is powerful, yes, but awakening it like this, it's dangerous. We're stirring forces we don't fully understand." Alina nodded, her thoughts heavy. She remembered the visions she'd seen at the altar, the balance between destruction and renewal. "I know," she said softly, "but what choice do we have? If we stop now, the Vorthak will destroy everything anyway." Priya looked up from her laptop, where she was analyzing intercepted Vorthak communications. "They're planning something big," she said urgently. "Something called the nullifier. I don't know exactly what it does, but it's bad. Really bad." Marcus leaned forward, his face grim. "We need to hit them harder, faster, before they can use it." Alina clenched her fists, determination hardening her features. "Then we strike their orbital station, the central hub of their hive mind network. Without it, they'll lose control of their forces." The plan was risky, almost suicidal. The orbital station was heavily guarded, its shields nearly impenetrable. But Priya had discovered a potential weakness. The shields required periodic recalibration, leaving brief windows of vulnerability. Timing would be everything. As the resistance prepared, strange events continued to unfold across Earth. Animals acted with eerie coordination, attacking Vorthak patrols with precision. Plants grew unnaturally fast, entangling machinery and trapping soldiers. Even the weather seemed alive, with hurricanes forming overnight to batter Vorthak positions. Humanity wasn't alone in this fight anymore. Earth itself had become their ally. On the night of the mission, the team launched a stolen Vorthak shuttle, using hacked codes to approach the orbital station undetected. As they neared their target, Alina felt a surge of energy course through her, a connection to Gaia stronger than ever before. She closed her eyes briefly, whispering a silent prayer. "Help us," she murmured. "Let this be enough." When they reached the station, chaos erupted. Marcus led a diversionary assault while Alina and Priya infiltrated the core chamber. Alarms blared, and Vorthak soldiers swarmed the corridors, but the resistance fought with desperate courage. In the final moments, as Priya hacked into the system to disable the shields, Alina placed her hand on a glowing console and felt Gaia's presence awaken fully. The station shuddered violently as systems overloaded. Outside, lightning crackled unnaturally, striking the station repeatedly. Back on Earth, storms raged and oceans churned, as if the planet itself rejoiced. But the battle wasn't over yet. As the resistance escaped, Caliph watched from the ecliptor, his face twisted with rage. "If Earth wants war," he snarled, "then it will get annihilation." The orbital station erupted in a fiery explosion, its debris scattering across the atmosphere like embers from a dying fire. Below, Earth's skies lit up briefly, as if celebrating the Resistance's victory. But the celebration was short-lived. Warlord Caliph stared at the destruction on the ecliptor's monitors, his glowing eyes burning with a mix of fury and desperation. For the first time in centuries, the Vorthak had suffered a true defeat, not just at the hands of humans, but at the mercy of a planet that seemed alive. "This ends now," Caliph growled, slamming his fist onto the command console. "Activate the nullifier." Commander Vera stepped forward, her voice steady but laced with unease. "Sir, the nullifier is designed for extinction-level events. It will sterilize the entire biosphere. Every living thing on this planet will perish." "That is precisely the point," Caliph snapped, turning to face her. His expression was cold, devoid of hesitation. "If Earth resists, then we remove the resistance entirely. No life means no rebellion." Vera hesitated, her loyalty wavering under the weight of doubt. She had always believed in the Vorthak mission, to conquer, dominate, and ensure their species' survival. But what Caliph proposed went beyond conquest. It was genocide. Earth wasn't just another world. It was alive, aware, and fighting back not out of malice, but out of self-preservation. Could they truly justify wiping away an entire ecosystem? "Sir," she said cautiously, "there may be another way. If Earth has awakened, perhaps negotiation." "Negotiation?" Caliph interrupted, his voice rising sharply. "With animals, with microbes, with primitives who cannot even comprehend our greatness. You would have us bow to chaos." Vera clenched her fists, her mind racing. She knew arguing further would only seal her fate. Instead, she made a decision, one that could cost her everything. Quietly, she activated a secure channel and sent a message to the Resistance. Back on Earth, Alina sat in the dim light of their underground hideout, poring over stolen data when Priya burst into the room, breathless. "We've got something," the teenager said urgently, holding up her laptop. "A transmission from inside the Vorthak fleet." Alina frowned, leaning closer. On the screen was a garbled message, fragmented but clear enough to understand. It contained coordinates, schematics of the nullifier, and a single line of text written in halting English. "Trust me. It's a trap," Marcus said immediately, pacing the room. "They're trying to lure us into another ambush." "No," Alina replied, her voice firm despite the uncertainty gnawing at her gut. "This isn't Caliph's style. He doesn't negotiate, he destroys. Whoever sent this, they're risking their life to help us." Solomon adjusted his glasses, studying the schematics intently. "If these plans are accurate, the nullifier is worse than we imagined. It doesn't just destroy, it unravels ecosystems at a molecular level. Once activated, there's no stopping it." Alina stood, determination hardening her features. "Then we stop it before it starts. We meet them, find out who they are, and why they're helping us. The group argued briefly, but Elena's resolve silenced them. They couldn't afford to ignore the warning. Using the coordinates provided, they arranged a secret rendezvous in the ruins of an abandoned city outside Tokyo. As they approached the designated location, tension crackled in the air. Every shadow felt like a potential threat. Finally, a figure emerged from the darkness. A lone Vortex soldier, their armor marked with subtle scratches and dents. Their glowing eyes flickered faintly, betraying exhaustion. It was Commander Vera. "You came," Elena said, lowering her weapon slightly but keeping it ready. "I had little choice," Vera replied, raising her hands in a gesture of peace. Her voice carried a strange vulnerability, unlike anything Elena had heard from the invaders before. "Caliph plans to activate the nullifier within hours. If you wish to save your world, and mine, you must trust me." Marcus stepped forward, his rifle aimed squarely at Vera. "Why should we believe you?" "Because I am not Caliph," Vera answered calmly. "I see now that his path leads only to ruin, for both our peoples. If Earth dies, so do we." For a moment, silence hung heavy between them. Then Elena lowered her weapon fully. "What do you propose?" Vera handed over a data crystal containing detailed plans of the nullifier's activation sequence. "You must infiltrate the Ecliptor. Disable the device before it fires. I can provide access codes and create diversions. But know this, if Caliph discovers my betrayal, he will kill me without hesitation." Elena nodded slowly, meeting Vera's gaze. There was no time for mistrust. Gaia's power surged around them, restless and impatient. The planet was waiting. For action, for resolution. "We'll do it," Elena said finally. "But remember this. If you're lying, Earth won't forgive either of us." As the Resistance prepared for their most dangerous mission yet, Vera disappeared into the shadows, knowing she had gambled everything. Above, the Ecliptor loomed ominously, its weapons trained on the fragile blue planet below. Time was running out, for humanity, for the Vortex, and for Earth itself. The Resistance moved under the cover of darkness, their stolen Vortex shuttle blending seamlessly into the endless swarm of enemy vessels orbiting Earth. Inside, Elena sat gripping the edge of her seat, her knuckles white as she stared at the massive silhouette of the Ecliptor looming ahead. Beside her, Marcus checked his rifle one last time, while Priya monitored the ship's systems, ensuring their forged access codes held up against scrutiny. Commander Vera's betrayal had given them a chance, but it was a razor-thin margin for error. As they docked with the flagship, tension crackled in the cramped cabin. "Remember," Elena whispered, her voice steady despite the storm raging inside her. "We get in, disable the nullifier, and get out. No heroics." Marcus smirked faintly, though his eyes betrayed his fear. "Easy enough, except for the part where we're walking straight into a death trap." Priya shot him a glare. "Focus. We don't have room for jokes right now." When the airlock hissed open, the group stepped onto the cold, metallic floor of the Ecliptor. The corridors were eerily silent, illuminated by pulsating blue lights that reflected off the smooth walls. Every sound, their footsteps, the hum of machinery, felt amplified, as if the ship itself was watching them. Elena led the way, clutching the data crystal provided by Vera. It contained the activation sequence needed to shut down the nullifier, but they still had to reach the central chamber undetected. Vera's promise of diversions proved true. Alarms blared suddenly, echoing through the ship as explosions rocked distant sections. Red warning lights flashed, casting an ominous glow over everything. "That's our cue," Elena muttered, motioning for the others to follow. They navigated quickly, relying on Priya's hacked map to avoid patrols. But even with Vera's help, danger lurked around every corner. At one point, a squad of Vortex soldiers rounded a bend, forcing Marcus to duck into an alcove. He fired a single shot, disabling one soldier's weapon before dragging the group into a side corridor. Their stealth was crumbling, and time was running out. Finally, they reached the central chamber, a vast dome, filled with towering consoles and glowing holograms. In the center stood the nullifier, a sleek, monolithic device humming with ominous energy. Its surface shimmered like liquid metal, pulsing rhythmically as if alive. Delina approached cautiously, inserting the data crystal into a terminal. Lines of alien code scrolled across the screen as Priya worked furiously to override the system. But then, something unexpected happened. The chamber began to warp, walls rippling like water, gravity shifting unpredictably. Shadows danced unnaturally, and whispers echoed in languages none of them understood. Gaia's presence surged violently, flooding the room with raw power. Elena staggered, clutching her head as visions assaulted her mind. Burning forests, collapsing cities, oceans boiling away. She realized with horror that Gaia wasn't just aiding them. It was retaliating against the Vorthok invasion in its own chaotic way. "Hurry," Marcus shouted, bracing himself against a tilting console. "This whole place is coming apart." Priya typed frantically, sweat dripping down her face. Almost there. Just a few more seconds. Suddenly, the doors burst open, and Warlord Caliph stormed in, flanked by armed guards. His glowing eyes locked onto Elena, blazing with fury. "You dare defy me," he roared, raising a weapon. Before anyone could react, Vera appeared behind him, disarming two guards with swift precision. "Run," she yelled, firing at the remaining soldiers. Elena hesitated, torn between gratitude and disbelief. Vera had truly chosen sides, but at what cost? "I've got it," Priya cried triumphantly as the nullifier's hum faltered. The device sputtered, its glow dimming. Caliph lunged toward them, snarling, "You'll regret this." In a flash of desperation, Elena made a decision. Grabbing a detonator rigged earlier by Marcus, she activated it, triggering a chain reaction that would destroy the chamber, and possibly the entire ship. "Go," she screamed, shoving Priya and Marcus toward the exit. Vera grabbed Elena's arm, pulling her along as they fled. Behind them, the nullifier collapsed in on itself, consumed by Gaia's wrath. The ship trembled violently, its structure groaning under the strain. As they raced toward the shuttle bay, Elena glanced back, seeing Caliph vanish into the chaos. Gaia had awakened fully now, its power unleashed. And as the resistance escaped aboard their shuttle, they knew the fight wasn't over. It had only just begun. The stolen shuttle tore through the void of space, its engines screaming as it escaped the collapsing ecliptor. Inside, the resistance clung to their seats, battered and breathless. The flagship's destruction lit up the darkness behind them, a fiery supernova that painted their faces with an eerie orange glow. For a moment, no one spoke. The weight of what they had done, and what they had sacrificed, hung heavy in the air. Elena stared out the viewport, her hands trembling on her lap. She had made a choice back there, one she couldn't take back. Gaia's power had surged uncontrollably, consuming not just the nullifier, but everything around it. Vera had saved her life, risking everything to ensure their escape. But at what cost? Earth was alive, yes, but how much of it could survive its own fury? Commander Vera sat across from her, her armor scorched and dented, her glowing eyes dimmed with exhaustion. "You're wondering if this was worth it," she said quietly, breaking the silence. Her voice carried a note of resignation, as if she already knew the answer. Elena turned to face her, anger and confusion warring within her. "Was it? You betrayed your own people. For us, for Earth. And now," she gestured toward the chaos outside, "look at what we've unleashed." Vera met her gaze without flinching. "Caliph would have destroyed your world entirely. At least now, there's a chance, however slim, for both our species to survive. But survival will require more than weapons or shields. It requires understanding." Priya leaned forward, clutching her laptop tightly. "Understanding? How are we supposed to understand each other when they came here to conquer us?" Because we share the same problem, Vera replied, her tone softening. We've both been blind. My people saw dominance as the only path to security, while yours exploited your planet without considering the consequences. Neither approach works, not anymore. If we don't find balance, neither of us will make it. Marcus snorted, crossing his arms. Balance sounds nice in theory, but I don't see how it's possible. They're aliens. We're human. We're not exactly built to get along. Solomon, who had remained silent until now, finally spoke. His voice was calm but firm. Maybe that's the point. Balance isn't about being the same. It's about coexisting despite differences. If Earth itself is trying to teach us something, perhaps it's that unity doesn't mean conformity. It means finding a way to live together. Alina listened intently, her mind racing. Gaia's presence still lingered in her thoughts, its whispers urging her toward action. She realized then that the battle wasn't over. It had evolved. Survival wouldn't come from defeating the Vorthak or suppressing Earth's wrath. It would come from bridging the gap between them. As the shuttle descended into Earth's atmosphere, Alina made a decision. Turning to Vera, she asked, "What if there was another way? A way to merge our consciousness, not as conquerors or victims, but as partners?" Vera frowned, unsure. Merge. Our hive mind technology connects us, but humans, you value individuality above all else. Would you truly give that up? No, Alina said firmly. Not give it up. Share it. Use your technology to create a link, to let both sides understand each other. If Gaia can awaken, maybe it can guide us too. Priya nodded slowly, typing furiously on her laptop. It might work. If we upload Gaia's essence into the system, it could act as a bridge, a mediator between us and them. The idea was bold, risky, and unprecedented. But as they landed amidst the ruins of Earth, surrounded by the scars of war, yet also the resilience of life, Alina knew it was their only hope. With Solomon's guidance, they began constructing a prototype device using salvaged Vorthak tech and Priya's ingenuity. Vera assisted reluctantly, aware that failure meant mutual annihilation. When the time came, Alina volunteered herself as the first test subject. As she stepped into the machine, she felt Gaia's presence once again, stronger than ever. The planet trusted her, believed in her vision. Tears streamed down her face as the connection activated, merging human, Vorthak, and Earth's consciousness into one. For a moment, there was silence. Then, a new voice echoed in everyone's minds. Not alien, not human, but something greater. Hope flickered like a fragile flame, ready to grow. Earth stirred beneath their feet, healing slowly. The Vorthak watched in awe as their former enemies became allies, not through force, but through understanding. Alina's sacrifice had ignited a spark that might just save them all. The world was quiet for the first time in months. The hum of Vorthak worships no longer filled the skies, and the rumble of collapsing cities had given way to the soft rustle of leaves and the gentle flow of rivers. Earth seemed to breathe again, its wounds slowly healing under the watchful gaze of Gaia. The planet's fury had subsided, replaced by a fragile calm that felt almost hopeful. Alina's sacrifice had worked. By merging human, Vorthak, and Earth's consciousness into one unified system, she had forged an uneasy but powerful alliance. The Vorthak who survived now experienced the world through human eyes, and vice versa. They felt the pain of Earth's scars, understood the fragility of life, and saw themselves not as conquerors but as stewards. For the first time in their history, they questioned their own beliefs about dominance and survival. Commander Vera stood on a hill overlooking what remained of London, her glowing eyes reflecting the sunrise. Beside her, Marcus leaned against a tree, his rifle slung over his shoulder, not out of fear, but habit. Priya sat cross-legged nearby, typing notes onto her laptop, while Solomon knelt to examine a patch of wildflowers pushing through cracked concrete. Life was returning, stubborn and resilient, just like humanity itself. It's strange. Vera said softly, breaking the silence. For so long, we believed strength came from control. But now, she trailed off, gazing at the horizon where birds soared freely, their wings catching the golden light. Now I see that true strength lies in connection. Marcus grunted, though there was no bitterness in his tone. Guess even aliens can learn something new. Priya chuckled, looking up from her screen. Or maybe it's not about learning. Maybe it's about remembering. We all forgot how to live with each other, humans, Vorthek, Earth itself. Elena reminded us. The mention of Elena's name brought a moment of somber reflection. Though her physical presence was gone, her essence lingered in every heartbeat, every breath shared between species. Her voice echoed faintly in the minds of those connected to the merged consciousness, a constant reminder of the cost of unity and the value of balance. Solomon rose to his feet, brushing dirt from his hands. "This is only the beginning," he said gravely. "Earth has forgiven us. For now. But forgiveness isn't permission to repeat our mistakes. If we fail again, Gaia won't hesitate to act." Vera nodded, her expression resolute. "Then we must ensure we don't fail. My people will need to adapt, to let go of old ways and embrace this new path. It won't be easy." "No," Marcus agreed, standing beside her. "But nothing worth doing ever is." As the group dispersed, each carrying their own burdens and hopes, Earth continued its slow recovery. Forests regrew, oceans cleared, and animals ventured cautiously back into territories once ravaged by war. Even the Vorthak began contributing, using their advanced technology to repair ecosystems they had damaged. Cities were rebuilt, not as monuments to conquest, but as sanctuaries of coexistence. Far away, in the heart of the Amazon rainforest, the ancient stone altar still pulsed faintly with light. Around it, plants grew unnaturally fast, their leaves shimmering with energy. Animals gathered silently, watching as if waiting for something or someone. Deep within the earth, Gaia stirred gently, satisfied but vigilant. Its work was far from over. Above, the stars twinkled brightly against the night sky. Humanity looked upward, not with fear or defiance, but with curiosity and hope. The Vorthak did the same, their hive mind now enriched by human creativity and empathy. Together, they faced the cosmos, not as separate entities, but as one. Elena's legacy lived on in every step taken toward peace, in every hand extended across divides. She had shown them that unity wasn't weakness, it was strength. And though challenges lay ahead, they faced them together, bound by trust, guided by Gaia, and determined to prove that even the smallest spark could ignite a brighter future. The sun rose higher, casting its warm glow over a renewed earth. The scars of war remained, but so did the promise of renewal. Somewhere, Elena smiled.